Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day. I bid to all my brothers and sisters in Islam. Thank you so much for tuning in to Simple Islam Podcast. I'm Sister Lily, and I'm just so honored to be talking to you guys yet again in another episode. And for today, I really am excited to share with you guys some tips, especially for dear mothers or new moms, expecting moms, on a few tips to fast with ease in Ramadan as a breastfeeding mother. So, I myself am a mom, and I'm actually experiencing Ramadan as a first time breastfeeding mom. This year is my first time, so it's a lot to take in, and I have learned a lot of things along the way. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of other tips out there, a lot of moms who have a lot of useful tips out there, but I also want to share with you guys what worked with me and how I could. Stay consistent on some days. I'm not gonna lie for a fact that I too have days when I just feel like, oh my god, it's such an exhausting day, it's so challenging and dreading for the day. I'm not gonna lie, there are just days that I'm extremely exhausted, but there are also days when I feel like, alhamdulillah, God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me the strength to go through the days, especially when it comes to hot and humid days in Malaysia, especially in Singapore. It's a lot to take in, right? But alhamdulillah, if you take on these tips, take on the few helpful tips, inshallah, it will be easier for you as a breastfeeding mom to go through the days in Ramadan to fast with ease, inshallah. So, I would like to share with you guys one, two, three, four. Well, the fifth tip is not really a tip, but I would say 5 points overall. So, the first one would be to ensure that you eat nutritious foods during sahur and also iftar. This is extremely important because whatever that you're consuming, you want to make sure all those things are healthy foods, nutritious foods that you're supplying to your baby, to your kid, and in this case you want to eat or consume foods which are rich in protein, slow digesting foods to keep you fuller throughout the day. And some of the power foods, especially for your milk supply, would be oatmeal or oat, whole grains, barley, chia seeds, salmon, sardines, beef, leafy greens, nuts, legumes. And there's so many power foods out there that you can try to incorporate them in your meals, at least a full meal a day, which is your iftar. Maybe you can lessen it during sahur if you don't want to overeat during sahur. But then for your iftar, you need to fuel up. You need to eat all the proteins, consume all the nutrient dense foods if you can. So these are some of the things that you need to I would say take into account. And also don't forget your snacks. If you're still hungry even after iftar, the iftar meal is not enough, don't forget to snack on some healthy foods like mixed nuts, or some whole grains, cereal, granola bars. There's so many options out there for you to try out. And yes, this is actually the first and the most important tip, which is you want to make sure you're eating nutritious meals for sahur and also iftar. So moving on to tip number 2 is to ensure that you're staying hydrated all the time. This is also very important. But there some research has been done on hydration and its relation to your milk supply. Is hydration related to your milk supply? Like, if you hydrate yourself, the more water you consume, the more milk you produce. Is that true? But in reality, there's some research saying that your water intake does not affect your milk supply. Actually, it's actually not related to your milk supply, which is an absolutely surprising fact for some of us, because we've always heard of, you want to make sure that you're staying hydrated here, this and that, because it helps with your milk supply. But actually it doesn't. What helps with your milk supply is how much you're putting your milk out, how much you're expressing your milk, how much you're supplying, how high the demand of your milk is. So the more you express, the more you nurse, the more you feed, the more you will actually produce milk. So this is what, it's a more of a supply and demand kind of system. So our bodies actually work in such an amazing way, subhanallah. So this second point is actually not really related to breastfeeding, but you also want to make sure that you're staying hydrated, because that's just I would say the rule of thumb. When you're fasting, you want to make sure you're staying hydrated. So make sure you drink plenty of fluids, especially H2O, the plain old water. It won't hurt. Especially try to stick to 8 glasses of water a day. So if you want a schedule, you can try this schedule that I try to incorporate myself. So I drink 2 glasses of water during sahur, 2 glasses of water during iftar, 2 after isha, and then 2 after tarawih. So that is the second point, staying hydrated. And the third one is related to one of the things that I mentioned just now, which is to stick to your breastfeeding and pumping schedule to avoid short of milk supply. So again, I'm just going to reiterate this. What affects your milk supply is actually the demand of it. So the more you pump, the more you nurse your kid, nurse as you would normally, the more you're actually going to produce the milk, the more you're putting out milk, So it's actually supply and demand system, and that's how our bodies work. So make sure if you exclusively pump as a breastfeeding mom, if you're exclusively breastfeeding, just do it like how you would. Don't try to skimp or avoid breastfeeding or pumping just because it's fasting, it's Ramadan. It's like, okay, I need to save up on my energy levels, I need to save up on my calories, so I'm going to pump less, or I'm going to nurse my child a little less, these things. Try to avoid that, because you're just going to decrease your own milk supply. It's always better to stick to your pumping schedule, breastfeeding schedule, like how you would before Ramadan. So this is a very, very important point for breastfeeding mothers as well. So the next point is to always try to think positive, have happy thoughts, practice mindfulness, try to adopt or practice deep breathing techniques to keep your mental health in check. Because when you're happy, when you're positive, when you're looking at the bright side of things, it also affects your milk supply. So, a lot of moms are stressed, thinking about work, overwork, burnout, and things like that. They tend to have a lower milk supply. And yes, this is actually a psychological effect, to your milk supply. So you have to always believe that your milk supply will be okay, and your child will be healthy, inshallah. Your child will have enough milk to survive throughout the day. And yes, always do not fear and do not worry. So that's also another thing that we really have to kind of think about, of our thoughts, always to keep our thoughts in check. If it helps, you can also write down your feelings, write down your emotions in your journal. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious about your milk supply, and see see your daily entries basically, and try to evaluate from that, and how you can cope with your emotions in a healthy way. So that is another one. But in reality, if all of these 4 points don't work for you, and if you already tried everything and you just believe that you just can't, and your milk supply is truly decreasing, and you're just not being able to nurse or pump as you would, and if you really can't, again, do not force yourself. Do not force yourself. And because Islam is very, very beautiful, it's a very, very beautiful religion. It's a religion of tolerance. It's not restricted. It's there's a lot of leeway here and there, and of course, it's a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. So if you truly tried every method and you just believe that you can't, and you just know that you cannot, and you know your limitations of your body, so there's always ruhsah, they call it. So always talk to your doctor, talk to your pediatrician, talk to your lactation specialist, whatever, or whoever you're seeing. If you truly, truly can't, especially for pregnant mothers, try not to force yourself if you really, really can't, because the baby is more important. The baby's life is more important than anything else. So again, these are just some of the tips that I would love to share with you guys on how you can fast with ease in Ramadan as a breastfeeding mother. And I hope that this is beneficial for all of you. So if you find it helpful, please share it with your with all the women that you know who are mothers, who are fasting as moms for the first time this year, who are currently breastfeeding and things like that. So please share with them. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Till we meet again, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.